woke up, I was thinking he has twins. He woke up and find nothing. So as far as this government is concerned, I think we should just close the chapter on power. And if any government or any foreign government decide or institution decide to give them money, that money will not be used for that purpose. We have to go back into the era of Obasanjo, when they spent about, I think, over $16 billion on power. At the end of it, it was scandal. And I remember the Elumelu committee in the House of Rep. Only for the committee to be, to be silent because they alleged that I collected 100 million bribe. So these are some of the scandals that, if we are in a serious country, having a leader with vision, they will have known that in the last 2 decades, centuries, no country ever make it without power, because it's the mother of industry, it's the mother of even administration, and without power, nothing. But Nigeria have been handling it, wishy-washy and even when General came, you can use General Disco, go to Central Bank, they give you 600 billion, and these are the things. So, and government who have been there, who promised heaven and earth, all they promised, nothing coming. It's not the eve of their departure. They are not. I think we should just close it as it's a dream that will not materialize.
Okay. Now, Alhaji Muritala Agbola, do you subscribe to what Barrister Biden has said, that the federal government is not serious, scouting around for this kind of money?
Yes, I do. And we need to ask some fundamental questions. What's our problem? Is it the generation? Is it the transmission? Is it the distribution? And then by now, as a country, I think there are some research institutes that ought to look into our sectorial problems and they try to provide solutions. Those solutions, we can have the short term and the long term. And in areas like electricity, areas like fuel, areas like transport, we now fashion out a system so that anybody that comes in will follow what is on ground. Now, Obasanjo spent $16 billion, like the lawyer just said. And the problem, in fact, that was one of the problems he had with Yaradua. Because they brought in some gas turbines. And Obasanjo naturally expected Yaradua to follow what he has started. But Yaradua also had another committee set up that was different from what Obasanjo did. So some of these gas turbines that were brought from outside were made to lie fallow in Port Harcourt and some other areas. Even in some places where they were to install them, they had not been clear. The road they had to pass were not there. So these are some of the problems. But finally said, we need to sit down and ask ourselves, look at what Jonathan did in terms of selling Power Holding Company of Nigeria to the discos. Those who bought them don't have the requisite experience. Neither did they have the financial wherewithal. So what do you know that up to now, as we are talking now, the government still subsidize these discos? Hey, but if you are already sold, what's the essence of selling it? When you have already sold it. It's not like this still rolling and no, I'm talking of Oshobo, machine tools and they have sold it. Nothing is happening there. One government built these companies and another came and sold them, and we are not benefiting from it. So now back to our discos. These people sold the paddy thing, so they gave it to themselves. Go and take your own now. Me, I have taken my own, so they did that. So it's not fun. I don't know where you live, but where I live, we bought our transformer, and immediately we bought it. It became the property of Disco. They will ask you to buy poles. They ask you to buy cables. Immediately, in fact, what is even interesting, because incidentally I was the chairman of my CDA, Community Development Association. They asked us to write a letter. Yeah, you know the man before the reform. For reform, that you have willingly given it out to them. Because if you don't do that, they are hampered, they are hindered from doing anything on it. But if you voluntarily hand it over to them, if any of the community members, either now or in the future, then come, But you bought this, look, even you bought it, but this is the letters you gave to us. So those are some of the problems. Light are not regular. Yet every government comes in and spend money. We talk about Obasanjo, Yar'Adua spend, Jonathan spend, this government you have spent. So where is the light? So that's the questions we need to ask ourselves.
Kayode, let me come to you now. Scouting around for 1.22 trillion naira in order to generate electricity. Is it the right thing to do now, especially when the administration is about to wind up?
Even before we talk of the rightness or the wrongness of it, I think this sector has been privatized. What is the business of government now looking for money to inject into that kind of business? That is where I'm confounded. If it is really privatized, then what is the business of government? Mostly government that is in its twilight. The government is in what you call the football side injury time. No. What is the government business? If they want to review the privatization issue that brought in this group of people, it's a different thing. But already you have been told that it is privatized. It is in private hands. What is the business of government? I think it's not a kind of ploy to also to again plunge us into another round of loan. $1.26 trillion.
22 trillion, $1.22 trillion.
That is another potential scandal. You know. So I don't think the government is serious. Like my colleagues have said, it's a tall dream. Even if the government is serious about it, it's a tall dream. If we talk of federal government, is it the government that is going or the government that is coming? Which one? I think it's not something that should be taken serious. It can, and all these creditors should be really wary in granting loans again to Nigeria. And the Senate president has also dropped a hint that they want to put in some mechanism that will make it difficult for government to continue to borrow. So when you put all this together, I think it's not a serious issue to consider.
Okay, all right. Now, Barrister, let me come back to you. What would you like the government to do in order to demonstrate seriousness and commitment to this? To this issue of electricity.
What I have hoped they have done and we should have done will have been to recover those companies they have given to the private owner. That look, we have discovered you cannot run it. Government now want to take over. Whatever agreement they reach, they have to cancel. Maybe they pay them some thing and then see, because the day when we call it NEPA, when government were managing it, I think they were more serious than what we have today. If you complain, you don't know whom to complain to. If they are going to increase something, you are not getting the service, they won't announce to you. So to me, I feel the government, instead of going about borrowing, let them take over the ownership of the company. Let them see how they can bring in some people to advise them what to do. Or in the alternative, let them go to country like even Togo there and understudy them. How do you run it? Because you are in Togo and light is to be taken away. You will hear it on the radio, and it's going to be within 2 hours. That look, maintenance to be carried out on so and so, and with this so and going to be done. Not only that, if you are traveling from Republic of Benin as you are entering Togo, their transformer is as small as this. Unlike the Janjaji one that we normally go here. And I remember that the former central bank governor, Ola Vincent, I think it's late now, said at the beginning of this Fourth Republic in 1999 that he was in Norway. And then on getting to Norway, the people there said, what's wrong with your people? They came here, they said they want to refurbish their transformer. And we told them that this thing is out of outdated, and that they should buy a modern equipment. They insisted on refurbishment. And that's why in the first 6 months of Obasanjo, power was a bit stable. But as soon as refurbishment, the thing was over, the thing became as it was. So to me, if I know this government is serious, let them, how do you do it? Where do you get this type of transformer? Because you have to start from the generation. And I recall when we were very small, during rainy season, they normally have problem with Kanji. They say the thing is overflow, and the snake has entered the turbine. Not the snake that swallow money. That time it entered. So when during dry season, they say the water has gone down. Those people were seasonal. But light was not just abnormal. But today, we have about 6 meters of generating power. I was privileged to be in Spadaford University some years back, now 2006.
Okay.
I saw how they were using wind to generate power.
Okay.
Though you can use the water, you can use the wind, you can use the gas. I think Lagos State did it, or Egbe Power Station, and many other things. So why is the government behaving as if they are dealing with bush people? So we have engineers, we have professionals, we have so many people who can turn things around. But because of this wasteful spending, this leprous finger, our people just refuse to do the needful. So to me, I think it is time to let them do what they need to do. Let disco go and be dancing, and let the people take the job serious. That's how we can get a solution out of it.
Thank you, Barrister. Alaji, there's no doubt that the issue of electricity is one major factor that is setting this country back. How do we now get out of this problem?
I said it previously that we need to ask ourselves, what's the problem? Is it the generation? Is it some government officials will tell you that we can even generate more than we can transmit, but because the existing infrastructure for transmission is not adequate enough.
Archaic.
They are archaic. Now, is it really the transmission? Is it the distribution? Which of these three is our major problem? Now, if it is the generation, like he said, we have hydro, we have gas, even wind, even coal. Coal in the east, we can also use that to generate then solar too. Then solar. So there are so many. And we have, and fortunately for us, we have all these ones. Now, if it is the transmission, then what are the things we need? We have to situate the problem before we can talk about solving it. But see, the major thing is, without electricity, there's no way we can go forward. We cannot grow. We cannot be in sync with what is happening in the global space. Because electricity is a center of modern development. So, but you see, it is interest. I've looked at 3 areas in the Nigerian economy. 1, electricity. But you remember what he said? He said within 6 months. Obasanjo said he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, well, I don't know whether that's an insult or is a praise. But you see, both of them have points. Obasanjo that said Bolage does not know what he had a point. Because there's a cabal there. And those cabal will ensure that that system does not function. So that you can buy generators. That's the cabal in the electricity sector. Now, the cabal in the railway, they are the people that destroy the railway. So that they can use the articulated vehicles to haul their goods. And you see, the danger in using articulated vehicles is that the roads will soon become bad. Then we have this electricity we are talking about. No, fuel. There's a cabal there. You have heard about something. We don't even know now whether the government says it's paying subsidy. But I don't know when last week, the one I bought is 250 or thereabout. The government says it's paying subsidy and we are also paying higher price. So where do we stand? So you see, there's a cabal. And the interest of the cabal is just to make the country dry. So they are there, and look, some of these government officials, sometimes I pity them. Me, I have not been in government too. And I thank God I'm ensconced between people.
One day you'll be there.
People are there, but what I'm...
You are seeing your...
Okay. But what I want to say is this. Look, sometimes you pity these people. The real power brokers are behind the scene. You don't see them. They are these people that come. So when you... Look, I have sat down and asked myself, now, so is it that all those who... Do you... I think you still remember that some Nigerians and this man contributed to Buhari's campaign.
I did.
No, but do you think this is what they expected?
No.
And I'm sure that if left to Buhari again, sometimes when he's sleeping and remember, so what has happened to you? So there are some... In fact, that made me to write an article syndicated in some paper when I was in leaders as captives. They are also captives. You see them in big offices, in government, you think they are enjoying. You meet some of them. Actually, they was asked to write something about his experience in government. You know, he was a minister at Force Propaganda. He said no.
He said he regretted even serving Shagari.
All right.
So
thank you, Alhaji. Let me go to Saki. Now that, like Alhaji has said, that there's a cabal behind this problem. Now, it means that the country is demonized in the area of power, electricity. Then how do we now solve the problem, Saki?
I think we have used this platform about last week or how when we discussed this issue of power energy.
Yes.
And we all agree that there's a cabal somewhere that is working against the realization of and I said, without energy, you cannot industrialize. And that is what has been, that is pushing industrialists away from this country to areas where there are enabling environment, particularly in the area of energy supply. You see, you said until you have a government or a leader that is ready to penetrate this cabal, a leader that is ready to step on toes, a leader that is ready to look at people straight in their faces and do what is right, you continue to grope in the dark in the area of energy supply. And I said, in the area of domestic energy usage, people are now going solar. And almost every home now is experimenting the use of solar, either partially or somehow. So it means some people are getting themselves away from relying on this what we call disco, what we call them. But that kind of I don't believe solar can generate enough power to power factories. I'm yet to be convinced if that can be. So which means we still need to work on how to get electricity enough to industrialize our country. So this new development that the government is looking for this money, I think is, you see, the government has lost the confidence of people. A government which convinced us that it was going to do certain things. And out of the 3 or 4, you have not seen anywhere that one can really score them 100% or even averagely. Talk of security, talk of economy, talk of anything. It's a kind of disappointment.
But they are selling to us that there's no government that have ever done so much like the one.
You see, and they think we are not seeing what is happening. So when they come and eulogize themselves and praise themselves, as if we citizens don't know what is happening. We see what is happening now. You say you have done a lot in the area of security. Look at the way killings are going all over the place. So how do we trust this government? A government that came with the mantra of change. And I said, well, change has 2 sides, negative and positive. We are witnessing the positive side, we are negative side of change. It's very unfortunate.
All right. Thank you, Saki. And let's now move to the second topic of our discussion for today. Nigeria will restructure itself. That comment is coming from a renowned scholar, Professor Ishawa Eliago. Barrister, there has been clamor all along that the only solution to the problem of this country is to restructure Nigeria entirely. But the powers that are supposed to initiate this restructuring, it's like they are reluctant to do it. Even the National Assembly has not been able to amend the constitution to the taste of Nigerians. But a professor is now coming out saying Nigeria will restructure itself. How will this happen?
Well, he's a political scientist. Maybe in his own new, how will I call down, theory. That's the way. But for me, I don't think it's going to be like that. What the people are there, they even during the 2015 election, one of the mantra they came with was that restructure, new Nigeria, change. And when they got there, and they now realize that nobody changed the system that favored him. If you look at the Nigeria, we will divide into 2 groups. The early group, which is 2%, and then the other, or maybe I say elite governing group, and then the people who are being governed. These 2% they hold the resources, they have the power, they have everything to their advantage.
Yeah.
But the 98%, they are the one who are impoverished. They are the one who does not have the power, they do not have anything that will make them to bring about a change. So these few people who felt while they were outside power, felt the only language they could use to get power from the 98 is to tell them what they want to hear. They have told them, we will give you restructuring. And when the clamor came about 3 years ago, they said, okay, Erufai, we set up a committee, head it. Look at what they're asking for in restructuring. They went around the country, they closed the book. And then the next thing the president said, those people who are asking for restructuring are not well. They use some negative language against it. Why? Because whoever is benefiting from a system, we don't want that system to change. And that is what is the problem of the country, not to be. It has been like that. That the ruling class will never make a rule against itself. So, but what Eliabu is saying, which I say is a theory, was that situation or circumstances or every system must respond to change, either by man or by nature. So the man may be looking at the natural tendency. Now let me look at the little understand in this world what he's trying to say in my own perception. Number one, if a ruling class are oppressing the people and they are making the nation, if the people they are oppressing do not have the power, the situation, because God does not make anything for permanency, that situation will eventually snowball. And that will happen it happened in France. It happens in 1776 in America. It happened in Russia in 1984, and it's likely to happen here. And that's why it is said by, I think it's John Kennedy, those who make peaceful change impossible, make a violent change inevitable. So that word Eliabu is likely to be saying. But then we are appealing to the ruling class that the people of Nigeria are fed up. People are hungry and angry. And a hungry man is an angry man. If you don't feel it's time for these people to relieve them, and I'm going to Bible now. After the reign of Solomon, some people came to the sons of Solomon in the Bible and said, sir, we want to discuss with you. He said, that's the new king. They said, what do you want? He said, your father was ruling on with iron hand. Will you do the same thing? He said, give me 3 days. He consulted his age mates. They said, don't listen to them. Rule them. Tell them, my father used king, I will use serpent. Then he consulted the other. The other said, no, these people, you enjoy them if you tell them you will relieve them of their burden. And then 3 days later when they came, they said, my father ruled with king, I will rule with serpent and scorpion. And they said, people said, to 10 to Israel. And Israel divided into 12. And 2 was only left to Solomon. If Nigeria refused to do the needful, if the ruling class refused to do the needful, I'm not calling for revolution, but nature has a way of making change. You can't enslave people all the time. A day will come where slavery will come to an end. And that slavery is approaching the country because we know that the little 2% who are enjoying it, we too want a redistribution of their wealth.
All right, thank you. Alaji Muritala Agbola. Nigeria will restructure itself. Is it by nature or the ruling class or the people themselves?
Well, circumstances. Incidentally, he was my professor. He's an erudite scholar. He's an Idoma man. I know him very well. Together with the late Ali Mazuri, also a erudite from Kenya. So they wrote a book, the three heritage: Christianity, Islam, and the local religion. And what I said, like the barrister said, you see, the only thing that is permanent in life is change. Whether we like it or not, it will happen. There was a time you were not. Today we are. There will come a time you will not be. So no condition is permanent. That is what I think he's trying to say. Now, he has published so many things. He has traversed the whole country and so on. Continent. So he knows what he's talking. Now, but can we wait till the time when the system itself will do the needful? Well, your guess is as good as mine. But in reality, if we cannot, and you see, we seem to be helpless. Nigeria has never got to this level of tension. You see the Igbo people talking about Biafra, Yoruba people talking about Oduduwa, and so on and so forth. It has never been that. And the people in government don't seem to listen to what we are saying. So if we are helpless, then we allow nature to help us. We may also end up doing the restructuring ourselves. Because in 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution led by Vladimir Lenin, Lenin said revolution may not happen in his own lifetime. Incidentally, he was the person that carried out that revolution. So it's possible. You see, human beings, we have our own limitations. We can only see tomorrow. Although God has given some people, you can see only to see today. God has given some people to see tomorrow, but me, I can see only tomorrow. Even now, what will happen in the next 5 minutes, I don't know. So it may happen, but maybe what he's saying is that if that is not possible, then maybe you leave it to nature. But like somebody said, maybe you have not been pushed to the wall, because even if you drive a goat or a fowl to the wall, it will turn back.
All right. Now, Sake, like Barrister Obadita said, he said nobody changes the system that favors him. But somebody is now saying that Nigeria will restructure itself. How will it happen?
Well, to me, my first reaction to that statement is a language of revolution. That's the way I see it. Which means one day there will be revolution. And it is something that will happen. When, how, you don't know. And see, this issue of restructuring, coincidentally, this presidential candidates, some of them have also come out to say they will restructure if they are elected president. The kind of promises we had in the past. We are still having the promises. I think I can cite about 2 or 3 of them that have come out to say they will restructure. How they will do it, we don't know. But it has been established that as long as we continue to operate this 1999 constitution as altered or amended or battered, we cannot restructure. Because that is the foundation of the problem of this country. A constitution that allocates about how many percent of amenities and whatever services to the center.
56.2.
Yes, to the advantage of the states. What restructuring means is let various states or regions have enough autonomy, enough power to develop at their own pace, like we had in the First Republic. And that is what the powers that be now don't want to listen to. So as long as we have this system with these operators, we cannot have a structure. And that's why the professor is saying, it's like saying, if you don't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. So if you don't restructure Nigeria, Nigeria will structure himself. To me, it's a language of revolution. And it can happen anytime. Look at these agitations left, right, and center. It's a product of this loss of confidence in the present structure of the country. So it is going to happen. But how, when, and where, I don't know.
Okay. All right. Let me come back to the barrister. Now, you see, it's a language of revolution, like Sakia said. Nigeria will structure itself. It's a language of revolution. But how do we prevent this revolution from being violent?
Okay. To prevent it, you have to listen to reason. Babawolo wrote a book more than 45 years ago called The Voice of Reason. But unfortunately, most of those at the ends of affairs today do not listen to the voice of reason. Look at the letter Obasanjo wrote on the first day of this month, explaining to them that, look, this is the promises, this is what you say, but this is the reality of the ground. Instead for them to be, okay, let's even leave the messenger. Let's examine the message. They just insult front and back. And the truth of the matter is that even they themselves in their state, can you imagine in Kashina, as at 48 hours ago, they were slaughtering people, burning people in their houses, and yet did not see sign that if we don't prevent this one, people will eventually go into the streets. Let me take you to the story of Russia. For 70 years, the Kremlin were in charge. If you want to buy food, you have to be on queue. If you want to buy this shirt, you have to be on queue because the thing was just not available. But by 1984, 85, what do they call that philosophy? No,
restructuring
that's the language I want to remember. The government came on board because they felt, look, we can let these people, you see, oppressing people. People rush out. People were standing and sitting on armor tank in Russia. And Russia divided to about 15 countries. Yeah. The two of them are still fighting to the Ukraine and Russia. So what I'm trying to say is that if we don't listen to reason, if we don't bring oil to those who are injured, if we don't feed those who are hungry and angry, and eventually the inevitable will come. Yesterday they were celebrating 53 years of the Nigerian Civil War. How did it start? Were people listening to reason as at that time? What was the pain? What led us to it? We have not learned from that lesson. Some people were there who see cotton machine. Nothing will happen. We are in charge. To the level that they give them security, sir, Mr. Prime Minister, you are going to be cool. He said nothing will happen. Those who have yet to run away, Nnamdi Azikiwe ran out of the country. And eventually the thing came. Because they felt this is the way they want to do it. So for us to avoid the revolution or whatever things that are going to happen, is for us to now sit down, listen to those who are agitating. For example, we are preparing for election now, and Kanu is incarcerated. And some people are even talking here and there. They say, no, that's not the problem. We bring soldiers, and the soldiers are now speaking. That cannot be cool. Yeah. If anybody come out during election, we'll finish it. That was what they were showing them during the 64, 65 election now. And eventually the things snowball. The Western crisis, people were jumping from window and that kind of. So the best way is for our leader to listen. Call people who are aggrieved, discuss with them. And then let's see how we can. But unfortunately, we hardly hear, in those days you hear something committee, this one, trying to see how we can make progress. So, but the level, especially the APC that there, one day they were asking Soyinka during Abacha Day, they were not talking again. He said, I do not talk to deaf and dumb people. So this government is similar to that Abacha era until they open their ear and open their eyes and listen to what people are saying. I don't think they can find a solution to the way.
All right.
Which way?
Thank you. Alaji, now that the situation is like this, now restructuring seems to be the only way out. But we don't want it to be violent. We want it to be peaceful. How do we make it peaceful then?
You can't have your cake and eat it. And
you can't eat your cake.
That is what is in public space. But some people believe that that is wrong. So anyway, that's just by the way. Now, the second thing is, there's no way you can make an omelette without breaking an egg. So, these two things, it's either we are ready to allow reasons to prevail and we have what can go on, the changes to be smooth, or we wait for the inevitable end. But when the inevitable end comes, that nobody can control it. Even those who initiate it might not be in a position to control it. It's just like these riots and other demonstrations. It starts peacefully, but along the line it is hijacked. A lot of bottle-up anger is within the air. A lot of people are dissatisfied with what is happening in the society. So they want to use the opportunity. So if our people can listen, look at people in government today. Now, in spite of the challenges we have gone through, what have people in government done to even show that indeed we are in perilous times? If it is allowances or things like that, okay, because the situation we have in the country is bad, let us, we are making this sacrifice. They don't want to make any sacrifice. but all the sacrifice must be borne by the people. The people will burn it to a level that they cannot bear it again. So in that case, when the revolution or the changes come, it becomes violent. So the choice is for us, particularly the leaders. And when it comes to some of these big people, in 1983, the man that wrote, that publisher, Fagbanube, who wrote the Voice of Reason, Voice of Courage,
was born like dog in the streets. And his house set up there. I even met the daughter at University of London. They say never would they enter Akure again. Yes, never. One do baba, one do.
The way the man was, interestingly, when Awolowo went to campaign a day before, only a coup ascended, Fagbanube, but the man was still alive. We need to see how he ended. In fact, I think the woman was strong. If you read Kole Omotosho just before dawn, the woman was able to, one way or the other, I don't know whether he's still alive, but he survived it. But the husband went, he get the money, together with the money,
they burn everything. The house.
The establishing company in Ibadan.
That is it. So, you see, because if we don't allow things to go peacefully, then we are calling for violence.
Right. Sake, if Nigeria will restructure itself, what manner of restructuring will you prefer?
Well, I prefer constitutional way of restructuring.
Okay.
If the powers that be will allow it to happen.
Okay.
But from the body language, from everything, it doesn't appear they are ready for that. And that's why the Prof came out with this the language which I term as a language of revolution. We don't pray for revolution. Because I have not seen where revolution has been bloodless. Any revolution is bloody. But the magnitude of the bloodiness of it is what we cannot predict. But there's no revolution that is bloodless. We are not praying for it, and that's why we are appealing to the powers that be to allow constitutional means to be used to restructure this country. It is not difficult. It's not difficult. Revisit, pick this 1999 constitution and see the areas that have made it impossible for states to grow. In the situation where we have the Federal Ministry of Agric and Rural Development. What's the business of the federal government rural development?
Even Minister of Agri, where is that from?
Where housing?
Ministry of Water Resources. So all these are the aberrations that we have in the constitution. And until that one is, all these things are changed. I want to side the Prof.
Okay.
Is that Nigeria will restructure itself.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move down to the third topic of our discussion for today. Saludo to federal government. I stand surety for Nnamdi Kanu. Barrister, how do you see a whole governor coming out that is going to stand surety for somebody who is under trial? How do you see it?
Well, it's because he felt the federal government are not ready for election. And as far as he's concerned, and even what he's going through as a governor, you gotta remember something happens in the states almost every week. They will go to the INEC office, they will bomb the facility, do a lot of things, killing people and shooting people. And from the security report is likely to be coming to you as a governor. They will say, sir, it's because of Kanu that is incarcerated. And people have suggested, in fact, I was listening to two gentlemen on television less than 48 hours ago. They said the man has no charges. I don't know how to, that as far as they're concerned, that all the charges the one preferred have been struck out by the courts. And that is government that is still the and if it is true, well, they can bring some. I have always suggested in a forum that, look, if there is a way, call the elders of the Bola. I'm handing this young man to your hand. If I hear any trouble, I'll pick you people up. Ensure that it doesn't cause trouble. And that election in that part of the region will go smoothly. So now the man says, okay, if you are not trusting our elder, me as an elected governor of the state, I'll hand him over to us. We know what to do. It has happened before. And we can do it again. Because where, and I'll give you an example. In the days of our law, particularly in the 70s, there was this Abekoya in the Western region. And Tafa. Okay. And eventually, when the police could not control it, some police died with their uniform. When they removed their uniform, it was as if their skin had given up. Our was the one that negotiated the peace. So we can do some things so that peace can be found in that area. The philosopher said, since war began in the heart of men, it is the heart of men that peace must be sought. So if the president and the executive team will ensure that peace returns to that place, if they cannot hand over to this man, they can call the elders of the book, because the Igbo even normally say, even the Yoruba have said, the elder cannot be at home and a new baby set will not be in proper shape. So if they want things to be done, especially as we are approaching election, we have less than 40 days now to the election. So what are we waiting for? Once they get this man out and his people, you will see, I can say 60% there will be peace in that part of the region. So what are we waiting for? He cannot do anything. He doesn't have his standing army. When they put him in the what do they call it? House arrest. So why is he going to ferment trouble? So I agree with him. Let him do it if it can be.
All right.
Reasonably
If the situation we are having now, a whole government is coming out to stand surety for somebody that is being prosecuted. To you, how does it sound?
Do you know that Nnamdi Kanu is more popular than all the governors, not even one governor, all the governors
in that place?
Today in the East, there's a program run by your own station here, and I'm happy the guy called. There's one man, Ozoluwa, this man calls in that place. Every Monday, they don't go to school, you dare not go out. And it's because of this kind. It started a long time ago. Even this governor, Soludo thought he could do something about it.
No, they kill his soldier. His policemen were dying.
Yes. So even though he's incarceration, he's so popular amongst his people that order still take effect. This man, when he wanted to be when he was elected, he thought he could solve the problem, but he couldn't. So it's not even only the election. Mondays have been paralyzed in the whole of the southeast. Now, but the snap there is somebody stood shorty for him. That was Senator Abaribe. Well, according to him, he jumped bail. But even at that, if a court of competent jurisdiction has struck out the case against him, and you even still have the government can save his face by just inviting, like he said, some elders, blah 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 blah. But because if they don't do, what will happen will be like that of this guy who was maltreating Obasanjo, Abacha CSO, Mustafa.
Ali Mustafa.
You know, Mustafa was not released by Obasanjo, but the government that came after him released him. So eventually, because now we are talking about latest May 29, this government will go. So even if he is not released before that time, any government that comes in on compassionate ground or on any reason may decide to. So, but I think the government can do the right thing now that they have time.
Okay. Now, Sake, how do we solve it? It's a problem, but how do we go about solving the problem? This issue of...
It's one of the solutions. You see, whether we like it or not, either by accident or design, Nnamdi Kanu has become an issue in this country. Not only in the East.
Yes.
Because the crisis that is rocking East now is having some ripple effect.
Yes.
In Lagos. So whether we like it or not, it has become an issue. Babangida said Awolowo was the issue. An issue.
You are therefore or against?
It has become an issue. And you see, when judicial approach and political approach have failed, this is the best option. Of course, the government doesn't have any reason to continue to keep this man out of circulation. When the elders came to beg him, led by the late Chief Amechi, the Federal Minister of Aviation, Buhari came openly that, look, I only want to disturb, I only want to to interfere in judicial process.
Okay.
Let
Let
the law
us wait.
take its course.
Okay.
The law has taken its course.
Yes.
And they are not respecting the
The
judicial pronouncement. So this option is about the best now. Let me remind you, similar situation arose in the 80s with Gani Fawehinmi when he was detained in Gashua.
Gashua.
You know, he became a thorn in the flesh of Babangida government. So he was incarcerated. And that brought some agitation here and there among activists, among lawyers, and in Yoruba land. So in the heat of this agitation, Babangida now acceded to request of Yoruba elders and lovers. And he called them and said, look, I will release Gani Fawehinmi and hand him over to you with the assurance that he will continue to behave properly. It was only that led that team. I was reporter that covered that Gani's arrival from Gashua to Honest Palace in Ife. In fact, we had we kept vigil, but we were not sure when they would bring him, and we did not want to miss the scene. So we were just phoning. There was no answer at that time. He has gotten to Lokoja. He's on his way to. For 2 days, you were keeping vigil at Honest Palace. Eventually, the information was brought by JSS and handed over to Oni. You can trust him. Even right there, he started, doing his own thing. But the point I'm making is that this similar situation had happened before. It's not new. If the elders could not get the government to release it, I think the governor should be respected. He's the governor of his state, his own state. So it's the best solution for now. Otherwise, you see, he has some control, reasonable control over that.
Because the new Juku.
There's nothing you can do about it. All we need to do is to accede to Soludo's request and see what happens. Otherwise, this election, there was an attack about 2-3 days ago, and the attacker said no election in Biafra land. That's something that should attract some worry.
All right, thank you. Now, our time is fast spent. Barrister, before we round it up on the program, we need peace in Nigeria, and normalcy must be restored, particularly in the East. Now, how do you want government to go about it? Briefly before we round it up.
Well, instead of our president going to Burundi to go and Mauritania to go and receive award, I would have expected him to visit the East and do a farewell to them and tell them that he can assure them that his son will participate in the election. Giving them sweet words and then possibly grant the request of Soludo. So that would be a panacea to peace. And then remember that's not the only way. The Odua people are also here. We need to talk to them. The North too has not, especially in his own state. So that will glamour and running around. The man should sit down, get some security report, reason with people and see how we can make peace at home. Because whoever's house is burning and going to settle quarrel with another couple is wasting his time.
Thank you very much. Alhaji Emrita Lagbola, your remark before we go on this.
We are Nigerians, we are religious people, so we continue to pray, but we don't have to leave to God what we can do by ourselves. Let us also take some initiatives. Even if it is calling every segment of the country, leaders, traditional rulers, religious leaders, workers, and so on. Let them go, and then let him tell him, even though he's in the twilight of his administration, that he means well for the country. Whether we believe it or that's another thing. Don't you do his well, because life itself is a stage.
All right. Sake, before we go, the election must hold. We need this election. But how do we guarantee that the election holds in every nooks and crannies of the country?
Well, it's the responsibility of the government to provide security. As far as INEC is concerned, INEC has proved to us that it is ready. But INEC does not have the means to to ensure security. So it's now left to the government. And the president continued to tell us that he will leave behind a secured country. And the more he says it, the more violence will be. So I don't know Well, but we need security to allow this election to hold.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program today. Our time is fast spent and we have to go now. Barrister, I appreciate your coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Alhaji Murita Lagbola, thank you sincerely.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, viewers.
Thank you. Viewers, at this where we're going to round it up for today. Tomorrow is another edition of the program in the newsroom. Until tomorrow, I am Kayode. Bye-bye.
Mondays through Fridays, 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. in the newsroom. You can't afford to miss it.